watching NRA TV with Bill Whittle.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hot Mike Show, live from Los Angeles. I'm Bill Whittle. Hot Mike can't be here today. He's getting a little work done. Nothing major, just a little tightening up around the eyes. So we expect him to be fully recovered by Monday. And if you tune in on Monday and you see a really buff guy with dark black hair and looks, like an Asian grandmother, that's Hot Mike. Today we're going to be talking about the Glamour Trap. And that's exactly what it is. Glamour is a trap, and it has long had a very, very profound effect on human nature. It's not only been something that has caused us to admire many people, but it's also caused us to put down what would normally be our sense of reason and so on, because humans are attracted to beautiful things and beautiful people, and they tend to believe them in a way that they don't believe ordinary people. So here's the impetus for our story today. Rolling Stone magazine had a cover, and boy, what a cover! Even by Rolling Stone standards, this was pretty remarkable. It's a picture of Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, and the cover says, "Why can't he be our president?" And there's a smiling picture of Justin and the Rolling Stone and so on. And the entire article is, let's just say it's positive towards Justin Trudeau. Now, I have known for a long time that Justin Trudeau, the new Prime Minister of Canada, was a young, good-looking guy, smart guy, but that most of what he believed was pretty much nonsense. And the reason I knew he was a smart guy was because of a question he answered while at a technical center. Now, stay with me here, folks, because this is a story that's got the kind of ending that really, really makes you realize you're on the right side of this game. So, as I said quite a while ago, Justin Trudeau was asked a question about quantum computing, which is pretty heavy-duty stuff. I know the basics of it. Let's hear what the Prime Minister of Canada had to say that impressed so many people, seen by millions, maybe 100 million people.
Computing, but most of you, normal computers work either there's power going through a wire or not. It's 1 or a 0. They're binary systems. What quantum states allow for is much more complex information to be encoded into a single bit. A regular computer bit is either a 1 or a 0, on or off. A quantum state can be much more complex than that because, as we know, things can be both particle and wave at the same times, and the uncertainty around quantum states allows us to encode more information into a much smaller computer. So that's what's exciting about quantum computing, and that's what we're doing.
Be still, my beating heart. A man that handsome, that intelligent, Prime Minister, leader of a country. Oh, no wonder the Liberals were swooning. I was impressed. I have to tell you, as I said, I saw the clip. I thought I was impressed. He seems like a smart guy, but that was nothing compared to what some of these liberal newspapers have done. As I said, that particular clip's been seen by tens, if not hundreds of million people, talking about how far superior Canada is to the United States in terms of the intellectual weight of its leadership, especially against Donald Trump. So let's look at some of these headlines that came out right after Trudeau's speech. You can see Justin Trudeau explains quantum computing and the crowd goes wild. Your dreams, Justin Trudeau, man of your dreams, Justin Trudeau casually drops quantum leap theory, and you can see it again and again and again and again and again. Gives a reporter a quick lesson on quantum computing during a visit to Waterloo. Watch Justin Trudeau explain quantum computing. Justin Trudeau explaining quantum computing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, here's the only problem with Justin Trudeau's incredible ability to explain quantum computing to the news media. And the problem is, it's all fake news. All fake news. And I was preparing the segment to say, okay, he's a smart guy, but what he believes is garbage. He's not a smart guy. He's actually kind of an idiot. And to this I owe personal thanks to the essentially irreplaceable Ezra Levant, whose video I saw just researching this piece this afternoon. There's a still from it over at Rebel Media. Ezra Levant points out something that I did not know about that quantum computing story, and it's pretty interesting. First of all, as Ezra points out in his video, he said that Trudeau knew he was heading to a tech center, that he knew he was heading to a tech center and that there was going to be a press conference at the tech center. All right, so far so good. Levant took a look at what Trudeau actually said, compared it to the Wikipedia entry on quantum, and essentially realized that Justin Trudeau had gone to this tech center and memorized one paragraph about quantum computing. And the proof that he memorized it, and this whole thing was essentially a gigantic staged event, was this. Here's what Justin Trudeau said to reporters prior to him explaining quantum computing to reporters.
I was going to ask you to explain quantum computing, but when do you expect Canada's ISIL mission to begin again? And are we not doing anything in the interim while we prepare?
Okay. Very simply, normal computers work by... No, don't interrupt me. When you walk out of here, you will know more. No, some of you will know far less about quantum computing, but most of you...
Okay, we get it. We get it. Prior to that moment, Justin Trudeau is saying on camera, I wish somebody here would ask me about quantum computing. And when he took 2 or 3 questions when nobody would ask him about quantum computing, he got a question about something that Canadian journalists apparently did want to know about. And his response was a response on quantum computing. The whole thing was canned. And there are hundreds of millions of people out there now who think this guy's a genius. And I was one of the guys who thought he was pretty bright because he read a paragraph that he had rehearsed and that he insisted upon being asked. And when he wasn't asked it, he gave that answer anyway. The real Justin Trudeau looks a little more in focus when we look at him at a session of the Canadian Parliament where he was asked a question about how many times he'd met with the chairman of an ethics committee. He's in a bit of ethical trouble in Canada, and the Conservatives in the Canadian government wanted to know if he had met with the ethics commissioner or whatever he was. I'm going to start the clip with the first question in English, but understand that before this question is asked, Trudeau is asked this question 2 or 3 times in French and gives the exact same answer 18 times.
What Canadians expect is that their Prime Minister would give a clear answer to a clear and a simple question. Now, if he has something to hide, then Canadians want to know that as well. So I would suggest, if he wants to send Canadians the message that he has nothing to hide, that he answer the question. How many times has the Prime Minister met with the Ethics Commissioner?
I am very happy to work with and answer the Ethics and Conflict of Interest Commissioner questions. I think it's extremely important that we be working.
It's been asked 4 times already. I don't even know why I'm trying, to be frank, but I'll repeat this simple question. How many times has the Prime Minister met with the Ethics Commissioner?
Right, Honourable Speaker. Happy, as should be any member of this House, to work with the Ethics Commissioner, answer any questions that she may have.
What a charade, Mr. Speaker. This Prime Minister said he would stand up every Wednesday and answer every question that's being asked of every member on this side of the House, and he fails to do it. He's been asked 5 times today, Mr. Speaker, about the Ethics Commissioner. For the sake of my colleagues, I'll ask it again. How many times? 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 And how many times has he met with the Ethics Commissioner?
They expect clarity, they expect consistently, and when asked the same question, I will give the same answer. That's what Canadians expect. I will work with and answer the questions that the Ethics Commissioner and Conflict of Interest Commissioner may have.
That second gentleman was stating that the question had been asked 5 times already. He was number 6. There were 12 more to go. 12 more times where a member of that Parliament asked Justin Trudeau the same question, and Trudeau gave precisely exactly the same 1-sentence answer. You look at that video and you see a guy who's not only oily, but also not very smart. In fact, the guy who's not very smart at all. So that brings us to the entire idea of glamour. And joining us today, we have a guest I think's got some special insight into this kind of thing. Steve Solomon's a former U.S. Army intelligence officer. He came back from being deployed overseas to marry his childhood sweetheart, Ellie. They became pastors at a small college small church in Tennessee, and now he's a conservative commentator with his own radio show. Hey, Steve, good to see you. Welcome to the program.
Bill, I don't know what to think about being on your show today. So we're talking about glamour. So either I'm pretty and I know nothing, or you think I'm an ugly guy with something to say. So I don't know.
Why don't we just say we're both a couple of ordinary looking guys with some basic common sense questions, and we'll start there.
Let's do that.
Steve, glamour is a term that everybody knows, and they usually associate it with Hollywood, but sometimes they'll associate it with politicians like Justin Trudeau or John Kennedy or Bobby Kennedy or one Barack Obama, for example. They say they're glamorous, but the original meaning of glamour was kind of a spell. It was an enchantment. It was a magical effect that someone could cast upon somebody else to make them see what they wanted to see, to make them see what they thought was beautiful. And essentially, it's a giant camouflage of a fundamental lie.
You're absolutely right, Bill. I think something that can apply really easy to our understanding today is glamour shots. Do you remember those? We used to have glamour shots where you get in and you have the background, and
oh yeah,
it makes you look prettier than you really are. And it was to show people something about you that wasn't necessarily true. And this is what we're seeing with Trudeau. It's what we saw with Obama. It's surface appearance that looks beautiful, but the substance just isn't there.
Well, let's talk about the substance. We've seen, as we saw there, and many cases of Justin Trudeau looking like the proverbial deer in the headlights. But let's talk about the young, handsome, brilliant, maybe the smartest man who ever sat in the White House ever. Previous occupant of the White House, Barack Obama. Barack Obama, as people like to point out, was so smart that he was selected as president of the Harvard Law Review. That's a pretty impressive thing for a young man to be president of the Harvard Law Review and still look this good in sunglasses, be able to dance like this on Ellen. It makes progressives swoon, makes them just faint dead away. But here's the problem, Steve. Here's the problem, Democrats. Here's the problem, rest of the world. The problem is this. Barack Obama was president of the Harvard Law Review, and while he was president of the Harvard Law Review, he was the only president of the Harvard Law Review to never write a law review. And this used to mystify me, Steve. I mean, it really used to just flummox me. And then suddenly, like the sun coming up one day, it dawned on me, of course, Barack Obama wrote law reviews for the Harvard Law Reviews. It's just that those law reviews were so pedestrian and so bland and so completely ordinary that Harvard dared not publish them because of the embarrassment it would cause when people realized that we hired this guy because of his glamour.
They love celebrities. They love the idea of a good-looking man or a good-looking woman who comes in and rides in on a horse. The hair is waving behind and everything's perfect and beautiful. The irony about this, Bill? They try to make people like Barack Obama into celebrities because they want them to hang out with Hollywood types and people in the media and movies and things like that. Then you get a real celebrity, Donald Trump, who actually had his own hit TV show, and they can't stand the guy. It's so funny. They only want you if you're in their image. You have to be made in their image. Otherwise, you're no good, and they want to get rid of you.
I like that expression very much, that they have to be made in their image. I have suspected for quite a while, well, I think there's no question that the left is more susceptible to this kind of charisma, a charismatic leader, that they're more emotionally susceptible to them than conservatives are. Ronald Reagan is kind of the conservative, hero, but I don't know of anybody who had that kind of a love affair with Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan always struck me as being a guy whose primary appeal was how ordinary he tried to be anyway. What is it, do you think, about the progressive modern left mindset that makes them so susceptible to this idea of kind of a God who walks the earth? Can you believe it? Newsweek said he's kind of a God. This kind of thing describing Barack Obama. What is it with these people that makes them so susceptible to this?
I think that's a great question. If you look at technology, if you look at the way that we have smartphones today and Snapchats and all of these Instagram photos, the girls do the duck face. They look at the camera, they do the perfect picture, the perfect shot. Everything's got to be perfectly viewed and acceptable on a beauty level. I think we've just raised a generation that is so used to seeing perfection and coolness and everything's just styled just perfectly that if they don't get that, it's unacceptable. It's one reason we hate, for instance, the older generation. If you'll notice, the older generation is always kicked out and pushed to the side in favor of younger generations because Older people aren't cool anymore. They don't look beautiful anymore. Now their beauty, as the scriptures say, is their gray hair. That's their strength. And that's just not appealing to our generation anymore. That's why we get Justin Trudeau's. That's why we get Barack Obama's. Donald Trump obviously is on the other end of that spectrum. No offense to him, but he's nowhere near as the Barack Obamas and Trudeau's of the world. But he's got substance, and he's got a plan. And I think that's just not appealing anymore.
Yeah, and sad to say that the faster the world changes, and it changes accelerating, the less esteem we hold for people with gray hair, because it seems that their knowledge is so out of date. But I've certainly felt, and I know you do too, that the more of this I watch, the more I realize that what our the generation that came before us has is not just knowledge, it's wisdom, and it's a moral base that seems to degrade pretty much every year. Steve, if you can hang out with us, we're going to take a 2-minute break. When we come back, we'll be talking about some of the consequences of this glamour trap. This is the Hot Mic Show right here on NRA TV. I'm Bill Whittle. We'll be right back.
1 second, nothing is going on. The next second, the Quick Trip's on fire, the meat market's on fire.
In 2009, my husband was murdered right in front of me by a man who was stalking me.
She was still waiting for her permit to be approved long after New Jersey's 30-day waiting period had passed.
Even a stable society like America's is really on a razor's edge.
Our history is that we've always utilized and exercised our right to bear arms because it's been life or death.
When a criminal starts misusing me, I am going to use whatever necessary to get that criminal off my back.
A firearm is the only thing that gives me a fighting chance.
Gun laws that only apply to the law-abiding citizens. How can that be right?
They don't trust their soldiers stateside, carry weapons on military bases. I mean, that's insane.
It doesn't say the right of the property owner to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It is the right of the people. So yes, it applies to all of us.
You've been warned. You might learn something.
It is only because of your sacrifices that we have this unique opportunity to defend the one freedom that protects all the others, our Second Amendment. But before we can say that it has been secured and is intact for us to pass on to the next generation, we must face these very real challenges with the strength, courage, and purpose you have proven to possess. Our time is now. We must approach the coming fights with the same urgency and determined action that ended the political future of Hillary Rodham Clinton. That's why I need you to renew your membership, upgrade your membership, join this organization, and be part of the hard work and the victories that are yet to come. You have proven to be ready for the challenge.
ISIS called on its supporters to attack America on our home soil any way they can. That part of the story is not being reported.
This Black Lives Matter inspired cop hatred has had a detrimental effect not only on the policing profession, but also for the communities here, what I like to call the American ghetto.
This is a fight, and we will go on the offense, and we will not give up 1 inch, because the moment we give up 1 inch of ground to these gun-grabbing left-wing elitists, they will take a mile from us.
I have so many things that I hate about mainstream media. There is no way we are going to fit it in the allotted time today.
They literally live in Disneyland, and they have this unicorn and rainbow view of how the world should be. It simply doesn't exist. I'm Grant Stinchfield, live from 9 to 1 Eastern, right here on NRA TV.
Everybody, welcome back to the Hot Mic Show. I'm Bill Whittle, and part 2 of the Glamour Trap episode, prompted by Rolling Stone's cover photograph of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, wondering why he can't be our president. And then, as we mentioned in the first half, the entire idea of Trudeau as this brilliant young man is essentially just it's just plain showmanship. It's a flat. It's a prop. It's a set. It's something that's hollow. It doesn't exist. We talked about that in the first half. So we're here with our guest Steve Solomon, who's joining us. Steve, the liberals, the progressives, today have lost their minds that Donald Trump was elected, and they certainly disagree with his policies and all of that. But I think the visceral response to them, the emotional response to Trump, is that most of these people are offended by his, by the way he speaks. They think he's vulgar. They find him tacky and tasteless, and all of these surface kind of things. Now, we saw this before when people were comparing Barack Obama to George Bush. Barack Obama is extremely well-spoken. George Bush, not so much. George Bush, I think George Bush's English was a second language for him. I'm not sure he has a first language, but that's not the point. The point is what's underneath. What is the person made of? What are the decisions that they're making? And, George Bush used to be a supersonic fighter pilot before he became president and ran a business. Barack Obama handed out forms in Chicago. And this connection between not just looks, but also eloquence, this idea that if you are very eloquent, you must be intelligent. And if you're not eloquent, then you can't be intelligent. This, I think, is the biggest part of this glamour trap.
I think that's a great thing to say, because if you look at Donald Trump's election, the people that put him over the top and got him into the White House were the Rust Belt people, the people who didn't go to Ivy colleges, the people who didn't go to the high-end private schools and get all this education with degrees. And they said, Donald Trump speaks the way that we think. And you can't say things these days. It's politically incorrect. Donald Trump came out and says things, and the people like that. So I think you're right. He doesn't have the flair of Barack Obama, the style of Justin Trudeau, but what he says and what he does matters. I compare it this way, Bill. If you look at the substance of what's happening, I keep going back to substance. What do these people do? If you were to compare Donald Trump to Justin Trudeau just paid $10.5 million to an al-Qaeda terrorist who was in Guantanamo Bay from 2002 for killing one of our men. And I'm just, when I look at that substance of those guys on the left doing that, and then our guys standing up like Donald Trump and saying, we're not going to cater to this. We're not going to just lay back and let people do what they want. It's not flair, it's not style, it's not beauty, but it's the right thing to do. And the left doesn't care as much. They want the pretty stuff.
Yeah, that's right. It's a fundamental hollowness. I think it's a fundamental superficiality. I don't know why Trudeau gave an al-Qaeda terrorist $10 million. I know that Barack Obama gave the Iranian mullahs something like 600.
He didn't want to do He said if the government of Canada was going to fight the lawsuit because Omar Khadr was suing Canada, he said if they did that, that would cost 30 to 40 million, and he would rather pay 10.5 million, and that included a public apology from Canada, by the way, to a terrorist, to a man who killed Chris Spear in Afghanistan in 2002, to a murderer. That's the kind of leadership that the beautiful get.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's precisely exactly right. There are no principles there whatsoever, none, and it shows. It's a hollow shell. It's simply a reflection, and I like the idea of a reflection as an example, as a sort of a modifier or a way to understand the appeal of people like Barack Obama and Justin Trudeau to progressives. I like the idea of a reflection very much. Barack Obama himself essentially said, I don't have this quote verbatim, but it's very close to this. Look, I'm just a mirror that people can cast their hopes and dreams onto and reflect back to them what they want to see. And so what they want to see is, as you said, somebody that looks and speaks like them. And they want to see it so much that they absolutely cannot be convinced that these people are not the illusion that they want them to be. So again, speaking as a pastor, maybe we could wrap it up with this, Steve. Lucifer appeared as the bringer of light, right? Is just clouded, just cloaked in beauty and radiance, and so attractive, so almost too beautiful to look at. That's a profound metaphor that goes back a very, very long way, and it sounds like it's trying to tell us something. And what it sounds like it's trying to tell us is exceptional beauty is usually the most surefire way for us to drop our guard against shenanigans and outright evil.
Oh, that's so powerful, Bill. Beauty to me is the most carnal of all the attributes of an individual. It is fleeting. It's only around for a few years, and then the wrinkles come, and you're not as pretty, and all the youth fades away. I think what you just mentioned, Satan, coming as an angel of light, that's so true, and that principle holds true throughout Scripture. Deception of beauty that will cause people to do wrong. For instance, that's one way the Antichrist is going to appear on the scene. If you follow Scripture and you believe Scripture, he will come speaking peace, he will come speaking unification, and it'll just be nice and convenient and pretty. And I think people just need to be on the lookout that beauty doesn't trick them into doing something wrong.
I know a few people have accused Barack Obama of being the Antichrist, and I'm sure a few are thinking the same thing about Justin Trudeau. But what I know about both of them, and I know a lot more about Justin Trudeau than I used to, makes me think they can't possibly be the Antichrist because they're not nearly smart enough. Not nearly. These are not terribly bright people, but they look bright and they know what to say. And that seems to be enough for our friends on the progressive left. Steve Solomon, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you with us, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you again real soon.
Great to be with you, Bill. Thanks for having me today.
My pleasure. That's it, folks. That's the Glamour Trap. It's not even, when you really get down to it, it's not even the external beauty, or a better word is the intrinsic beauty. It's not the intrinsic beauty of Justin Trudeau or Barack Obama that gives them the power. It's what the people who perceive them want to see. That's what gives them the power. They want to see a president who looks like them and talks like them and dresses like them and so on. Some people looked at Obama. We saw this all the time with these photographs with the big halo around the head and all this stuff. Some people thought he was an actual, honest-to-God Messiah come to earth to save them. But most of the people, the big movers and shakers, the celebrities and the people in the New York City news media and the billionaires up in Silicon Valley, what they saw in Barack Obama was a guy who went to Harvard Law School, who dressed very, very well, who knew how to handle himself at a cocktail party, and they assumed that he was just as smart as they were. Well, he's not. And frankly, if you've ever met any Hollywood celebrities, you know that being as smart as they are is not a high bar to clear. That'll do it for the Hot Mike Show for this week. We'll be back on Monday. Mike should have the bandages off by then, and we will see you next week right here on NRA TV.